Alhamdulillah wa salatu wa salam ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi man wala amma ba'd. To continue the previous session that we had on medical issues related to the month of Ramadan, we have with us Dr. Zubair Maliki, who is a GI, gastrointestinal physician at Temple University Hospital. And as we mentioned yesterday, it's a blessing from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that we get the opportunity to have physicians in our community that will address the issues directly related to the month of fasting. This particular question that we have in front of us, dealing with the volume check. This question says, if a person has vertigo, is it okay for them to fast? Can you tell us what vertigo is before you answer that question? This one also says, if a person is suffering from vertigo and then became dizzy, what advice do you have as far as continuing to fast? Jazakallahu khairan.
So vertigo is a condition that affects usually through the inner ear, leads to a lot of dizziness, but for some people it can be very disabling. They're unable to function, they can't walk straight, they can't do anything other than lay down. So part of it is definition of vertigo, what is causing it for you. Most people have something called benign positional vertigo. It's related to an inner ear canal issue, and there's essentially just some stones that form in the inner ear canal that can lead to dizziness. But for others, it can be through viruses. Some people think passing out is the same as vertigo. That's a whole different ballgame. So make sure that your diagnosis is actually vertigo. If you do have vertigo, again, it depends how serious your condition is. Some people, when they develop vertigo, they're completely disabled and they literally can't do anything except lay down and close their eyes. And for others, it's just that they feel a little dizzy, but they can carry on with their day. It's just uncomfortable for them. So you have to kind of judge how severe your issues is. A lot of vertigo, again, is related to hydration, and that's something we touched upon yesterday. So keep yourself well hydrated. I think for most people with vertigo that comes on once in a while, it's okay to fast. If you do start having dizziness, it depends on how much, how dizzy you get, how disabling it is for you, before you decide whether or not to stop. But if it is getting to that point, then stop. I mean, the best thing I can tell you is keep yourself hydrated through the time when you are eating, and seek advice. If you're on medications, continue your medications.
How does one stay hydrated? So for example, let's just say for like right now, Fajr is 4:40. If I wake up at 4:30 and I drink a gallon of water, is that the same as if I wake up an hour before and I drink a liter and then another liter, like I space it out?
Yeah, it is better, as Sheikh mentioned, to space it out, to try and drink throughout the night. So from the time of iftar until suhoor, as much as you can, continue to drink. Try and avoid
what?
Drink water is the best thing for you. Some people will say like low-calorie Gatorade would be helpful for electrolytes, but if you're eating okay, you don't necessarily need those electrolytes, but that can be helpful as well. Sugary drinks are things to avoid. Sodas, juices that are high in sugar, you want to avoid those things. Anything caffeinated can be bad for you because it can dehydrate you. It can lead to increased urination, which can dehydrate you. So you want to try and avoid those things. Drink through the night. One of the things that's important with anybody that's fasting, but particularly those that have medical conditions, is to prepare yourself, as we mentioned yesterday as well. So if you haven't already started your preparation for Ramadan, start now. You're not going to be able to drink a gallon of water in Ramadan if you're only drinking one tiny bottle of it right now. So you need to start pushing how much water you drink, start cutting back on your sugary drinks now, so that when Ramadan comes, it's not so difficult for you.
Next question. Is there a religious opinion on taking appetite suppressants during the month of Ramadan?
So I did look into that as well. So there are certain medications that can reduce the appetite. Most of them that we know of are kind of like these herbal supplements. But regardless of what they are, is from the opinions that I've read that as long as you take it when you're permitted to eat, there's no harm or there's nothing haram about taking those appetite suppressants. Allahu Alam, Sheikh.
No, that's true, and the scholars, even from before now, I mean, I think it's like a newer thing over here, Allahu Alam, but they used to call them the Ramadan pill 20 years ago, or even more than that. And it's basically, as Dr. Zubair mentioned, several herbs or vitamins, B12s, and so forth, that help to repress, those feelings of hunger. And so it's no different than choosing to eat right. So if you eat certain fibers that takes your body a longer time to break down, it's going to leave you feeling more satisfied and full for a longer period of time, as opposed to you eat some French fries for support, and 20 minutes later, you felt like you didn't eat anything. Right. Okay. I didn't get any more questions from the sisters, but from the brothers, there's a recurring question that was not dealt with yesterday, and that is the issue of high blood pressure. So if first you could just talk about some of the things that maybe are common reasons why we get high blood pressure, and second of all, how to manage that in Ramadan.
Yeah, so high blood pressure can come from a lot of things. A lot of it has to do with diet-related things. So a high salt diet is not good for you. Gaining a lot of excessive weight can lead to high blood pressure. Not controlling diabetes can lead to high blood pressure. Even kidney disease, things like that can lead to high blood pressure. Some people just have high blood pressure without any of these causes.
Genetically?
Genetically, yeah. Genetically, you can have high blood pressure and you don't have any of those things. The best thing to do to control it is, one, low salt diet. Keep fluids in, but you got to keep the salt very low. Low fat diets are very important as well. In terms of medications for high blood pressure, there's different types of medications. Some of them you take once a day, some of them twice a day, some 3, some even 4 times a day. And it depends what medication regimen you're on. If you're on medications that are once a day, then there's no problem with maintaining your fast. Even the medicines that are twice a day, although it's not exactly 12 hours, most of the Muslim doctors will say that it's okay for you to take it 16 hours and then 8 hours apart rather than 12 and 12. So that I think is one of the things here in particular. If you have certain conditions where you're on medications 2 or 3 times a day, seek counsel from your physician. But if they're not a Muslim physician and don't understand Islam, try and find a Muslim physician that can help guide you through that process, because there are some medications that you can absolutely not veer from 12 hours apart. And there's certain medications you can't veer from 8 hours apart, where most of the other ones you can. You can change it to in a few hours off is no problem. So for the most part, high blood pressure medicine, you just need to continue through Ramadan and adjust it slightly for timing.
Okay, we have 1 minute and 16 seconds left, and I'm sticking to that. Here, it says, can you repeat what you stated about migraines and also about the sister with cancer that's taking meds? Apparently the sister that beat cancer, alhamdulillah, and she's taking medication. The live feed cut off last night.
So in terms of migraines, there's different levels of migraines, whether how you feel them. So some people have severe headache and they can't function, but what they do to get rid of their migraine is to go lay down in a dark room, turn off all the lights, close their eyes, and just lay there. If that's the case, you don't necessarily have to break your fast. While as other people, they need to take medications immediately to try and break that cycle of migraine. So if your migraine is something that's disabling to you, meaning you can't function, I mean, that's, from my understanding, Sheikh, and you can correct me, that's one of the things that can be considered a reason to break your fast. So go ahead and break your fast in that case, unless your treatment of it is something that doesn't require you to break your fast. In terms of cancer, we mentioned cancer,
This was the sister.
the sister that beat cancer that wasn't taking medications.
She wasn't. This one was taking medicine.
Was taking?
Yeah, she was. She had it in September, and then alhamdulillah she was diagnosed.
Oh, okay.
She beat it, and she's
Yeah.
just taking medication.
Just taking medication.
But
So
she didn't mention the frequency of
yeah,
it.
so it depends on the frequency of the medications and what that medication is. If it's a medication that you take once a day, no problem. Take it at suhoor, or at iftar, whatever timing works for you. Also, you can, if it's a twice a day medicine, again, some of them it's okay to adjust the timings a little so they're not exactly 12 hours apart. There's certain medications though that if you don't take 12 hours apart, your levels of that medication start changing, and it can affect your body. So you need to figure out exactly what medicine is. Is it something that you can adjust the timings for a little bit or not, and then continue based on that.
Jazakallahu khairan, barakallahu feekum. Let me just say, as a reminder, as the doctor is saying, you can break your fast and then do what? Make the day up later. Not just that you break your fast and there's no repercussions to that or no consequences. The consequences that you make it up later. Those are for illnesses that are not chronically disabling, that do not chronically prevent you from fasting. As for people who have illnesses that chronically prevent them from fasting, then those people are excused from fasting, and they are to expiate by feeding the poor person for each day of the fast that they miss, so 29 or 30 days, depending on that year, depending on how long Ramadan is that year. Again, we want to thank Dr. Zubair for coming and addressing these questions. This, in fact, at least based on the feedback that we got from yesterday, is quite unique in our community to have these issues addressed by a medical professional. And we pray that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala blesses all of those who made this event a reality. And we also remind you that tomorrow, inshallah ta'ala, starting at 2 o'clock, and up until Asr, there will be 3 more lectures, inshallah ta'ala, to conclude the pre-Ramadan lectures. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless you all for coming out. May He increase us in knowledge and forgive us our sins. Subhanakallahumma wa bihamdik, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka wa atubu ilayk.